doctor.
Inspiring debate among parents and health professionals, ADHD is one of the most talked about health conditions affecting children. Human behavior specialist Dr. Demartini has an insightful perspective.
Like with many health conditions or disorders, depending on who is evaluating and who's doing research on it, they will put their slant and labels on it. So if you're a geneticist, you will find genetic relationships between the condition and the genes. If you're a psychiatrist, you'll find probably a biochemical involvement. So you could literally see it in different angles, and they're all factors involved in ADHD and ADD. So I wouldn't say it's one factor, and I'm questioning whether or not we really ought to label it a disorder, because many times the children that have been labeled this have the capacity for sitting for hours with total focus, total attention, long-term attention, in things that are really meaningful to them and inspiring to them. And under those settings, they're perfectly normally functioning. Every child or every adult that has these labels lives by a set of priorities, a set of values. Things are most important to least important. Anytime they feel that whatever they're doing can help them fulfill their highest values, they have attention, they have alertness, they have focus, and they tend to think in terms of long-term activities. But anytime they don't feel that whatever they're doing is helping them fulfill their highest values, they get distracted easily. So many times what we've done is we've labeled things on these children because teachers and or adults are not honoring their individual unique set of values and projecting an authoritative label on these children without caring to know that at home in front of a video game they can sit for 6 hours with a photographic memory without any problem. So I'm not convinced it's really a disorder. I think it is that we haven't taken the time to identify what these individual value systems are and learn how to communicate them.
Like most parents who have children diagnosed with ADHD, Gay Potter had to navigate her way through conflicting information and strong opinions about how best to treat her son.
When he was in grade 2, his teacher didn't believe in Ritalin or medication. And one day I didn't give him his medication. And she came to me and she said to me, I need to tell you that it's like Cartoon Network let loose in my class. And this was the behavior without medication. This is the level of hyperactivity and busyness. Where we were very fortunate, Thomas never bothered anyone else. We often avoided discussing medication more than ADHD because I found that out there are so many people that have an opinion about Ritalin and ADHD, and they either believe it's bad parenting or Ritalin's bad for you, you're going to become a drug addict. And at the time, it was a hard decision for us to reach anyway. As the years have gone by and I've seen my own success with the medication, that it really has worked for Thomas, I've been more comfortable. I think also one is reluctant for everybody to know your child is on medication when they are younger, because people then start labeling your child. So I often say to parents, be wise, talk to your friends, talk to people that you trust. But don't listen to everybody's opinion, because eventually you'll be so confused it'll make you question your own decision that you've made, and it's not fair to treat your child as a science experiment.
The challenges I faced when I was at school was the concentration aspect, as in you find yourself sitting down to work and you'll end up getting distracted by small things, and then it's quite hard trying to get back to focusing. It's also quite difficult in the mornings, because if you wake up say 5 minutes too late and you take your medication, it doesn't wear in, so maybe I'll come into class a bit hyperactive, so it's quite a challenge. Having ADHD, you got to remember that your brain is wired differently to others. But I hate it when people brand ADHD as being a disorder. I don't think it's a disorder. I think it's something good. If used properly, it can be an amazing thing. Like when I run, I don't run out of energy as quickly as some people, so I can run much further. I think also once you get down to the working and the concentrating, you can work for longer, you can have more concentration. Because I've had concentration that's straight concentration for 3 or 4 hours, and if you do get that right, then it can be something that will make your life even better.
Dr. Demartini's approach was actually very exciting when I looked it up on the internet. There have been in the past a few other professionals that have mentioned that ADHD is a strength. And I think we need to change the way we look at things like ADHD. And certainly from my experience with Thomas and with other ADHD children, they often present a perception of the world that is highly intelligent, and it is not a deficit, but rather it is a strength and something positive. Because unfortunately everything we read about ADHD is negative, because our whole system is not geared to the ADHD person.
I was speaking to 200 people specializing in education, and there was a young 12-year-old boy sitting in the front row with his mother and his therapist. And the woman, the mother, put her hand up and said, Dr. Demartini, what do you do when you've got a child that has attention deficit, is lethargic, unmotivated, and is just not doing well in school, has got low self-esteem, and just started throwing all these labels on the child sitting there. And I said to the mother, I said, it doesn't exist. And she looked at me with a startle, and the counselor who gave her the labels leaned back and reared up, like a cat. I said, your child is misinterpreted. And I said, let's have some fun here, and let's just do a demo right here so we can do it live. I walked over to this 12-year-old child. I said, where do you excel? Where are you outgoing? Where are you extroverted? And where are you the best at something? He said, video games. And I said, what kind of video games? He said, ice hockey. So I said, what classes are you having difficulty in? He says, well, math and this class and that class. I said, so how is math going to help you become great at video games? He looked at me with a blank stare. He says, I don't know, I don't see it. I said, now, when you play video ice hockey, you play on a rink, don't you? He says, yeah. And aren't you shooting a puck, which is a circle and an oval? And isn't that a form of geometry and math? He goes, yeah. Isn't it all mathematics? He goes, yeah, this is really neat. And I showed him the relationship between mathematics and his game that he was inspired by. And I said, do you think that if you knew more about mathematics, you'd have an advantage over your buddies? You'd even beat them further? He goes, yeah. Well, he turns to his mother and he says, Mom, can you get me this book, whatever he's talking about, that'll help me be better in my ice hockey? And she's sitting there with her mouth open. The counselor's now writing notes. And I said, in 14 minutes, I got him asking you for a math book. So I made that point. So I said, if I took every one of his classes and linked it to his values, and you honored his values instead of projected an insult to those values and honored that, you allow him to excel in it. And then when his natural evolution makes his values change, he'll go on to the next thing. And if you do the same thing then, he'll keep excelling in the areas of his highest values. This is wiser. And you link all the classes to it. And this is not being done. And if it was done, extraordinary things happen with children.
Hello, doctor.